Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course and certified leadership trainer, Dom Reitman. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. And today on the High Live Real Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North podcast. And we got one heck of a guest for you today, my friends. One heck of a guest for you today, because today's guest in particular, an international best-selling author, app designer, entrepreneur, and trainer who has spent the past 18 plus years. You heard that right, folks. 18 plus years traveling around the world, sharing his passion. And he also has shared the stage and trained many of the top trainers and thought leaders in the world today. And with his high energy and heartfelt style, this wonderful gentleman right here draws on his journey from humble beginnings to financial freedom at the age of 32. You heard that right, folks. 32. To inspire individuals to tap into their greatness and realize that he is not the only person that struggles. And this wonderful gentleman has found some clues, y'all, some clues. He played the game of Clue, and he has survived to tell the tale to open individuals up to the possibilities that lie within themselves. And that's why he is a highly sought after presenter. You heard that right, folks. So the highest grade of weed and the dispensaries involved, y'all, because he's the highly sought after speaker. So let's give it up for the one, the only, Triple R himself, Mr. Robert Raymond Riopel. How you doing today, Robert?
Dom, I'm doing awesome. And I'm trying to figure out if it's because I'm Canadian, you're referring to the weed and the dispensaries, because it is legal here, you know. So and it's good that I'm known as the highest grade, because I'll tell you, when you do a training with me and I'm on stage and you've got me for up to 12 hours a day for 3 days straight, yeah, people are going, what is he on? And is he making me high? And so, you know, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, yeah, man, like, dude, you're a freaking firecracker, man. Like, my man's been like the #1 top spot on Podmatch like the past 3 months, ever since we finally booked this time together, since both of us are busy humans. And like, listening to some of your past interviews is like, yeah, man, like, this man's the real deal, Holyfield, baby, the real deal.
Oh, now you're putting the pressure on me. Thanks. I guess I have to get my, my alter ego out and say he was the one doing it all. You're thinking of my twin brother here, Dom. I'm the one that actually shows up and does the good interviews. He's taking care of all the. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. What? Heck, speaking of real deal and Robert, like, you ever thought of that as another moniker / nickname for yourself? The real deal Robert himself.
Well, actually, if you notice the 3 initials on my name, I actually use them for not just Robert Raymond Riopel, but it's in my trainings. I keep it real, I keep it relevant, and I keep it repeatable, because to me, that's important things. I don't want to teach someone and just give them fluff. I don't want to say, hey, look, oh, this is amazing. Anybody can do it. Away we go. It's like, no, if you want to, because one of the questions I get all the time, Robert, how can I do what you do? And I tell people, if you want to do what I do, you've got to be willing to do what I do. And I'm talking the ugly behind the scenes, practice. Oh, I don't feel like it right now. I don't care if you don't feel like it. Get up and get it done, because that's the only way you're going to become a master at anything. And unfortunately, too many people, they look at instant success on social media and they go, oh, I want my 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, that was 20 years overnight success. And that's the hard work. So, keeping it real is one thing. I'm going to tell people the good, the bad, the ugly. Especially I love that we're going to be talking about writing books, because, man, my first book was a 15-year procrastination write. And you heard that right. If we're talking Olympics, I'm a gold medalist in procrastination. So I'm bringing medals to Canada like you wouldn't believe, but it may not be for what people want it to be for. The relevant, I want to make sure that what I'm teaching people is real for today, relevant for today. If it worked 10 years ago, but it's not working today, you're not going to hear it coming out of my lips, because that's important, right? And then the repeatable, everything I teach, I love teaching in systems. I love acronyms because I tell people, Tom, I've got one brain cell left and I'm doing everything I can to take care of it, right? And so I got to keep it easy for me. And it's funny because people will go, Robert, why are you putting yourself down saying you have only one brain cell left? You're smarter than that. And I say, yeah, I am, but here's the reason I say it. It's a reminder to me to stay humble and to keep learning. Because the moment I think I know it all, Dom, I'm done. I'm done. And I've been there a couple times where I thought I don't need to learn more. And boy, did my life go downhill quickly. So that's kind of a little insight into the real, relevant, and repeatable, and just having fun with life.
That's right. Having fun on all the buns, baby. That's right. Real, relevant, and repeatable. Like that is so great, man. And it's so great indeed. And it's so needed nowadays because that's probably one of the biggest, heck, even one of the biggest compliments a teacher can receive is if their knowledge, they can take it and run with it and repeat it. And if it's relevant to the student and the student eventually becomes a teacher themselves, be like, yeah, I can look back and be like, hey, that was my sensei, my master. He taught me the sacred way of success. And now I can
Right,
go and
wax
do it
on,
on my own.
wax off, wax on, wax off. Yep, that's it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So speaking of wax on, wax off, I hear you've actually worked your butt off as a franchisee, and that actually helped you to get that financial freedom that you're able to get at 32. So mind going deeper into that story for the folks who don't know about you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in Central Alberta where I live, we were taught, it was, here's the box. Don't think outside the box. Don't challenge the box. Don't question the box. And part of that was when it came to work, it was like you go and you find a company that's going to be secure, give you security, because that's what it's about. Whether you like it or not, if it's a secure job and they're paying you a wage, even if you hate it, you go and do it to support your family. So that's the way I grew up. And all of a sudden, by the time I'm 21 years of age, I'm like, I've been laid off from 3 companies because they've closed down. And I'm starting to go, is it me? Is it every company I start with? All of a sudden, I'm a bad omen and they get shut down. What's going on? And, in 1989 here in Alberta, when I was laid off from that 3rd job, it was during an oil bust. There was no real work out. So I started out of necessity. I'm a newlywed. I want to take care of my family. I start delivering for a company you must be part owner in because it's Domino's Pizza. And I start delivering pizza. And because of my work ethic, I actually start making more money than I did at my real job. And a few months in, I'm able to become a manager, out of necessity, really. Actually, get this, it wasn't because I was going, hey, I think I want to advance. It was my franchisee sold his store and bought 2 more. And so I knew that I wanted something more permanent instead of just driving. It was unreliable for if I could get hours. And I said, I need something more permanent. You have 2 stores now. Do you need a manager? And again, because of my work ethic, I became a manager. My wife became my assistant. And we started going into our programming, Dom, of working hard, 7 days a week, open to close. We know how to work hard. And we did that for about a year and a half. And I don't know if you know much about Domino's Pizza, but you cannot just buy a franchise. You actually have to successfully manage a store for at least a year, meet a bunch of criteria. And if you do, then you have the right to be a franchisee. So we're now qualified, and they waive the upfront franchise fee, but you still have to have the money to buy or build a store. And so a year and a half in, all of a sudden we get that dreaded news that my franchisee, he just says, I'm selling the stores. I don't want to be in Domino's Pizza anymore. And I went into panic mode because to me, I'm like, here it is again. I'm the curse, and we knew that new franchisees, when they come in, they let the managers go right away because they want to bring in their own management team because they, of course, can always do it better, right? And so my thought is, well, we better start talking to the other franchisees here in the city and find a new job. And my wife's like, why would we do that? Why don't we just buy the store? And I looked at her, I'm like, because we don't have any money. That's why we don't buy the store. It's interesting how that comes into play, right? And, one of the biggest blessings in my life, Dom, is my wife and I, we met when we were 13. We actually started dating when we were 16. We got married when we were 19. And we just celebrated 2 months ago our 32nd wedding anniversary. Now, please do not do the math of how old I am. and I'm the in the box thinker, but my wife, we always say I was innocent until I met my wife. And then she started corrupting me in so many amazing ways, because she's the one that would sit there and go, well, why are we doing it this way? Well, because that's the way it's done. Yeah, but why? I don't know. It's just the way it's done, because I'm not questioning the box. And she's like, no, let's look at other ways. So we started on a journey of how can we buy the store even though we don't have money? And with our passion, we made a lot of mistakes. And I want your listeners to really get this. We didn't have it all set out and made and understood. We made a lot of mistakes, but we learned something from every single stumble, including when we paid someone $1,000 that we did not have, that said, hey, you pay me my fee, I'll find you someone to finance your store. And we paid the fee, and all of a sudden, nothing. Oh, can't find anybody. And sorry, non-refundable. And so we learned something every time until we had the confidence. We now knew what to say and what not to say. And we ended up going to a bank, because in where I lived at the time, especially in 1989, you couldn't just go to a bank business manager and ask for a loan. You had to know someone who knew someone who knew someone, right? It was like this, oh, you've got to be someone to do this. And we had a great relationship with the branch manager. And I tell everybody, don't be known to your bank as the only time they ever hear from you is when there's a problem. I get to know the tellers, I get to know the managers, I get to know the loan officers, because we were in her office one time. She had helped us buy our house. She knew we were hardworking. She loved us. And she asked us, she says, how's it going with buying your store? And we're like, we're frustrated. It's not going well. She goes, well, have you ever talked to Grant, the business manager? And we said, we can't get an appointment with him. We just can't. And literally she said, come with me. She stood up, took us by the hand, Dom. She walked us across the bank. She knocked on the door and said, hey, Grant, this is Robert and Roxanne Riopel. They're hardworking kids that manage a Domino's Pizza, and they want to buy it. Take care of them. Now, everything's perfect, because if we had been able to get to him at the beginning, we probably would have messed up the whole application, not knowing what to say. We would have said the wrong things. But so it's perfect that it took us about 4 months before we actually got to talk to him, because now we knew what to say and what not to say. And we didn't get the financing for our store, Dom. He actually gave us 100% financing for both stores that my franchisee had for sale. And also we're franchisees, and we're like, well, you know, we've got it made. We're successful. We knew how to run a store, but we didn't know how to run a business. And there's a huge difference. As an example, hey, we can't afford an accountant, so we'll do the accounting on our own. Now, the stupid thing is we're already working 70 plus hours, 7 days a week in the store to have time to now do the accounting. So 2 years later, when all of a sudden the government's going, you have a business. We haven't seen tax returns. We need to see something. We had to get caught up. And because our whole philosophy for 2 years was, hey, if there's money in the bank, we must be doing okay. Right? And I know no one's ever done business like that. And when we finally got caught up, all of a sudden our accountants, they looked at us and they're like, how did you make it the last couple of years? There's no way you should have been able to survive. But luckily, ignorance was bliss at that time. We didn't know what we didn't know. We just knew we were going to make it work. And as soon as we knew the numbers, as soon as we now knew how we were doing, we started doing better, and we started making some pretty good money. But then our spending habits and our programming that we had, we did something that, Dom, I'm about to shock you, because I'm the first person you've ever met that's ever done this. And your listeners are going to be shocked as well. We started spending more money than we were earning. I know. I that's, shocking. I know. And by the time we were franchisees for 8 years, we're now over $150,000 in debt and going down quickly. And that's actually when we were introduced to personal development. We were given access to an evening that blew us away, and we spent $600 that we didn't have to go to a 3-day weekend. And in that weekend, we ended up learning why we were in debt. In other words, our spending habits. Where did it come from? Why did we spend money the way we did? Why didn't we manage our money? How to manage our money. The second thing we learned, which was the most important, was we took ownership for our debt. It wasn't someone else's fault. Well, they lost my investment or that. No, we took ownership that we were responsible for our own finances. And then we also learned specific skills, that things we could do to get out of debt if we wanted to. And I don't know if you've ever experienced financial debt, Dom, but it's got to be some of the worst stress out there. And because we were so stressed, we were like, we're doing whatever it takes. We're going to take what we just learned, we're going to put it in practice. And because we did, we took action. And unfortunately, the statistic for North America, unfortunately, only 3% of people will actually ever take action with what they've been taught. And they wonder why they don't get anywhere. So action is critical. Because we took the action, all of a sudden we were able to go from $150,000 in debt to actually being completely retired, financially free, 9 months later at the age of 32.
Now that's a baby right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. And it was like, birthing a whole new life, right? Because all of a sudden now we're like, holy crap, if that information gave us this result, what would more information do? And we became avid students and just started learning from everybody we could. And that's where I found my passion was to be a trainer. Because here's how it all started for me. I've realized that if I could even help one person do what my wife and I had been able to do, go from being in debt to financially free, it'd make it all worthwhile. And from that start of one person back in 2002, when I caught that dream, as of today, I've now personally trained over 500,000 people around the world, not including all the people they've impacted. These are people I've just personally trained where I'm on stage for 3 to 5 days at a time, 12 hours a day on stage, impacting lives in live trainings and getting to do what I love and feeling so blessed. So that's kind of the back journey of what's got me where I am today.
One heck of a journey indeed. And it's really inspiring that you're able to do it with your wife like that. Just young couple just really just finding each other and heck even growing together. And that must have been hell on the marriage too, being so young married with a franchise that was basically almost near death and then having to bring it back up like that. Like I'm pretty sure that probably made you two stronger as a result.
Well, yeah. And tenacity is a key, and the passion. Like there was nights when all of a sudden the Domino's Pizza decided they're changing their looks and your store had to look different. So you had to renovate, and we didn't have money to renovate. So what we did is we'd work until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, shut the store down, pull the ladders out and start pulling the ceiling tiles down, painting the crossbars of the ceiling tiles, repainting the ceiling tiles themselves, changing the wall boards. We'd do that till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd shut down, go home, have a couple hours sleep, get back for 3 o'clock and do it all again. And we did that for months just to be able to do and have the stores look the way they wanted to without having to spend tens of thousands of dollars that we didn't have on renovations. It's a whatever it takes kind of attitude, and that's served me well.
Amen, right there. The other wit that doesn't get talked about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Hey.
Yeah, and look, you hit it right there. Think of how many people they go, oh, I want to be successful. Oh, but you want me to work on Saturday? Oh, I actually have to get up earlier. Oh, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Oh, but I have to make some phone calls. Sorry, no, that doesn't work for me. Like that's we could go down a whole rabbit hole on that one, right? Whatever it takes is whatever it freaking takes to create the life you want. And a mentor taught me, and I love it. He says, we create a life from 9 to 5 for those who still have a 9 to 5 job. He said, but we earn a living, we earn a living from 9 to 5, but we create our life from 5 to 9. So those extra couple of hours when you're finished working, what are you doing with those hours? Are you just doing things? And I'm not going to put down TV because I love my TV shows. I love my movies, but all good things in moderation, right? You have times for that. But how many people come home and they're like, oh, I'm tired and I'm going to flake out and I'm going to play video games and I'm just going to binge watch shows and not do anything productive. But I should have a better life than this. I should have more success. I'm barely making it financially. Well, then take an extra half hour a day and do something to get you more successful. Learn something, then implement. 3 keys I teach people. If you want to really have success in your life, learn it. So learn something new, then do it, because when you do something that you've learned, it ingrains deeper. But then the third key, then start to teach it. Teach it to someone else, because that takes it to a whole new level. And when you learn, do, and teach, and then you just repeat, learn, do, teach, learn, do, teach. If you were to do that and take even 2.5 hours extra a week, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, not a lot of time, you could change your financial life just like that.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The LDT, baby. Learn, do, and teach. That's right. Got to out and do it, y'all, after you learn it. That's right. And then you got to teach others. So, in speaking of teaching, I'm pretty sure you had to be that wonderful piece of coal before you became the bright, shining diamond you are today. So, what would probably be the three main things that have helped you to become a better teacher, heck, even trainer over these past few decades?
Mm. Number one, practice, practice, practice. One of my mentors, my favorite quote of his: every master was once a disaster. And you have to be willing to go through the disaster stage. So when I started training, I was relentless. And not to give away again my age, Dom, but when I started training, I was carrying, get this, I was carrying from hotel to hotel a 13-inch TV with the built-in VHS player so that I could watch over and over my mentor saying the words I was about to say, doing the, because I was in training. And in school, I hated studying. I hated studying. But because this was important to me, then I found a way to make it fun, and I made sure I put in the practice. Because to be a master, what do they say? You have to do it 10,000 times or spend 10,000 hours. And so practice, practice, practice is number one. Two, make sure you have a mentor, someone that has accomplished what you want. Because if I had tried to figure it out on my own, it would have taken, I'd probably still not even be near the level I'm at now. But because I was willing to be, I teach people something called the Authority Master Key. And I use the acronym VITAL. And the T stands for tractable, meaning you have to be malleable. You have to be molded, willing to be molded. Like if I was taking a pizza dough when we were making it, I would cut it off the big chunk that we'd mix, but I had to sit there and work it and mold it to be a round dough ball before it could rise, before I could then dock it, stretch it, slap it, put it down and sauce it. And see, most people, the reason they struggle is someone will say, hey, if you want to be better, do this and do this. But they're like, no, I'll do it my way. You don't know what you're talking about. And look, if you're not willing to be molded, and when you have a mentor, that mentor, if they tell you to do something, don't sit there and go, why? I don't know. I don't think that'll work. You fricking do it. And so that's what I did is I had mentors in my life that taught me so much because they were already successful. And now when I mentor students, that one of the things they go, well, why should I listen to you? Well, I don't know. In the last 18 plus years, I've taught over 500,000 people, and I've actually done over $100 million in sales from the stage. So I don't know if I could teach you anything. Maybe not. Oh, by the way, how much have you done? What have you done on the stage? And I say that just to make a point because I'm one of the people that where I'm all about humbleness is so important. But there is times, I was doing a training as an example, and I was teaching others how to train in the style I train. And I had 300 students in the audience for 5 very intensive days. And the first day and a half, boring stuff. It's the basics. Like it's so basics. But if you don't get the basics out of the way and you don't ingrain them, you can't get the expertise, right? So I'm teaching the basics, and all of a sudden, the second day, we're a day and a half in, and the guy stands up and he says, I'm out of here. So I paused the training and said, what's going on? He says, I'm doing $1 million a year. This is too basic. I don't need this. I'm already got a training company that's doing $1 million. I went into my ego and I looked at him. I said, then sit your ass down, because I'm doing $15 to $20 million a year in sales right now. So if you're only doing $1 million, obviously there's something you don't know. And he looked at me and he went over and sat back down. And I said, and give him a round of applause for speaking his truth. I acknowledged him. At the end of the training, he came up to me. He's like, wow, thank you for being willing to hold me. He said, now I know why I've been stuck at $1 million for years, because I've been in my own ego and not willing to learn something new. Now that's gold right there, right?
It's so true, man. It's so true indeed. And heck, even like just the real courage and the wherewithal to say, screw it, man. Let me just tell it to him straight. It's like, okay, you're gonna get in front of the class and say this. All right, I'm gonna speak my truth too. Like, hey, you're missing something here, buddy. And he thanked you for it in the end. His ego got in the way. Well, it almost did, but was able to really listen to reason and actually sit down and find out, oh, it's so simple. I missed it this whole freaking time. That's been holding me back from getting higher than what I need to be.
And that's it. See, I just got goosebumps. You just lit me up with that, Don, because that's it. People go and they say, it can't be that simple. And look, success is not easy. You have to put the work in, but it is simple, because if you do the basics, and the V in my vital stands for being a virtuoso, meaning a person is a virtuoso is someone who's willing to go in and master something. And one of the reasons I've been as successful as I am is I don't sit there and go, oh, I'm going to be a trainer. I'm not going to be a trainer unless I get to start on a stage in front of 1,000 people. I started by volunteering for 2.5 years straight at my own expense for my mentor. When I became his personal assistant, there was times I had to shine his shoes because we couldn't get them done in time. We were at an event. I was pressing his shirts because I knew how to get a crisp shirt ready for him on stage. I was getting his meals, and I did it with a smile on my face because I got to have then the behind the scenes knowledge of listening to him talk to people and that, other partners and strategizing. And because I was assistant, I had to be there, that if he needed me, I was there. And so I was just soaking it all up. And so that's one of the reasons too, I'm at the level I am. I didn't come in with the arrogance and ego of, well, you better start me here, you better start me there. I'm like, great, you want me to go scrub a toilet? I'll scrub out the toilet, and I'll do it with a smile on my face. That's the other key, is you've got to be willing to say, I'll start wherever I can just to get going. And then you soak it up like a sponge. Be of service. And now today I can stand on a stage, and because I know logistics so intimately, I can be on the stage and know if something's wrong in my room. My largest audience, 6,000 people. I could tell if something's off in the logistics. So I can actually adjust my training to say, hey, like if I've got a handout about to go out, but I notice all the handout runners aren't in place, instead of sitting there, hey, go take care of the handout. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, where is everybody? And you feel that energy shift. I can see, and if I notice they're not in place, in my talk, I'll be going along and I'll go, and logistics team, we're about to do a handout. And so, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 and I'll keep going. And from that little just off, and the audience doesn't even catch what I do, but the logistics team's like, oh crap. And you see them run and get in place. And then when I see them in place, it's like, okay, take care of the handout, please. And all of a sudden it seems seamless because I understand what it takes to not just be on stage, but to run it. And one of the things I teach trainers, if we're talking trainers, one of my number one rules, I say, I don't care who you are. I don't care how charismatic you are. I don't care if you're the greatest in the world at what you do. If you don't have an amazing team behind you, you will never be as effective as you can be. So make sure you acknowledge and take care of your team and treat them amazing, because they will help you do amazing.
Woo! Yes, indeed. This is hot fire right here, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right, some hot fire indeed. Tell you, it's freaking hotter than fish grease in here with this one, man. I told you, Robert's dropping that heat, baby, dropping that heat. Because you're so right about that team thing. Heck, even listening to like the last, I think it was like a Tony Robbins, Unleash Your Power Within, like audiobook, and he mentioned the same thing about having a team, and that really helped him get to where he is today, because he wouldn't be as effective if he was doing it all by himself like he was in the beginning. And a team and just knowing what to do and then having them do it and letting them shine helped him shine even brighter, man. So my goodness, a classic saying that's so true that we sometimes tend to forget thanks to ego if we let it happen like that.
Yeah. And look, everybody has ego. And one of the things I've come across is the people that have the biggest issue are the ones that try to pretend they don't, or say they don't, or ignore it. And because of that, it ends up manifesting and coming out in weird ways when they don't want it to. And so, if I could give a little tip for your audience to understand, to really take them to another level, is when you realize that we all have ego. Absolutely, we do. So you find a way to allow it to be safely come out. Like, and I'll give you an example. When I'm on stage, I'm there to be of service to the audience. So to me, there's no place for ego whatsoever, because if I'm an ego, I'm not connected to them. I'm not seeing what's going on for them. I've got to put myself in their shoes. So I'm there to be of service. And so if I don't want my ego to come out, then I have to have a way that it can safely be vented. So for me, what I discovered a while ago, Dom, I like video games. And if you and I are about to do a video game, look, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going down, because I'm going to be in full-blown ego. I'm going to be playing to just kick your ass all over the place. I'm not going to hold back. Because that's how I can safely let my ego play, so that when it's time to not allow it out, I can then be really present to what I'm doing in the moment. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense indeed, because it's like, hey, ego does come out, especially when it's something that you're good at, something you really enjoy, something you have fun doing. Heck, even reminds me of the classic phrase is really just being cocky and not just confidence. Like it's really just making sure that you have your confidence under control. So it just sounds like just keeping your confidence under control, which is really healthy.
Yeah. And I tell people it's all about confidence, not arrogance. See, when you have that confidence, but we've been taught as kids, don't brag, don't do, and it's like, if it's real, why is that bragging? See, I don't have
Mm,
any control over someone else's perception. I just have control over how I feel about myself. And if I allow them, because they're feeling insecure of my confidence, and think of, an amazing friend of mine. He started as a mentor. We became friends. And then I became even a mentor to him, the amazing Les Brown. Mamie Brown's baby boy, Les Brown, you got to be hungry. And you have greatness in you. But so many people have allowed it to be suppressed because they've been
mm.
told, don't shine, don't show up, because other people might feel bad around you, or they may feel that you're being arrogant. No, just be you in all your greatness. If other people can't handle it, I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with you. That's their programming of why they can't handle it. But if you say that, well, so that they don't feel bad, I'm going to tone down, then you're saying that their opinion of you is more important than your opinion of you. And that's a way of setting yourself up for struggle, for depression, for just not being able to really give your gift to the world. Because every single person on this planet, I don't care who you are, Dom, everybody has a gift to share with this world. And if you're still breathing, you have a gift to give. The question is, are you? Or are you allowing others' opinions of you to suppress it?
Man, if you were breathing, you still have a gift to give. That's what I'm talking about. My goodness. My goodness, indeed. That's right. That's right, indeed. Christmas came early, y'all, because you all got gifts listening. That's right. You. That's right. You. All of you. That's right. Even if the multiple personalities are involved too, you have gifts too, y'all. I'm telling you. Just have to wait for folks
Multiple
to
gifts.
unwrap them. Yeah, that's right. Let's just hope all the personalities are friendly.
Love it.
Yep. A little can of worms with that one. But it's all in good fun on the bun. So since this is far from your first rodeo on the guest side of the game on the microphone, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Yeah. Well, now you're trying to stump me. I love that. And you know what? So many people have been thorough. I've been pleasantly surprised by the different questions that come up, and the different energies and the different styles. And on that one, I would say no, because until I hear it, I wouldn't even know otherwise.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Heck, probably comes from being the youngest in the family, using all the wit all the time. It's like, nah, I'll just let them ask me first.
No, I was the youngest in my family. How did you know that?
Yeah, listen to past interviews, and I'm also the youngest in my family. Another reason why I wrote it down. So it's like, yeah, it's like, oh shoot, you too. No wonder my man's awesome.
Right? And my wife is the youngest of 5 kids in her family. So, of course, not that I have a flair for that being young is great, but I do.
So Dick, it was kind of funny. It's like, oh, he's talking about his like, hey, don't try to figure out my age, but you're the youngest of your family, so it's like, who cares? You're fine.
Right? Yeah. If my siblings they ever go, oh, Robert, you're getting old, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm the youngest, so you're getting older. How's that feel? We have no fun with it whatsoever.
That's right, no fun whatsoever. So my goodness, so before you became who you are today, you used to be a snooze button engine. I'm pretty sure we still got plenty of those people out there now, since folks have been getting back to work for those that chose to get back to work. And they maybe press that snooze button again, and they may need some help. So any suggestions for those who need to stop being those snooze button ninjas and just jump out the bed full of passion, or at least not press the snooze button?
Well, now let's be clear. I'm still a snooze button ninja, because I am a world-class procrastinator. Look, it took me 15 years to write my first book, and it was a procrastination right. But one of the things, because, and think about, Dom, it's really, tell me if you agree or not. When I hit the snooze button, I've got 9 minutes until that alarm goes off the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time. Have you ever noticed that 9 minutes in between the alarm going off tends to be some of the best sleep you actually get all night long? Like, am I wrong on that? Right? So, and the funny thing is like, why the heck am I even setting the alarm? Because my hand's already on the phone, ready to hit snooze. It knows it's about to go off because I'm so dialed in. But in all seriousness, I used to beat myself up over being a procrastinator because that's bad, that's negative. But then when I started realizing, like, look, I know I'm a procrastinator. So I can either beat myself up, or I can say, with that knowledge, how do I handle it? And that's where I came up with one of my quotes that I love that says, I design my day in such a way that procrastination cannot play. Right? Because I know I purposely book interviews, trainings, calls, meetings, first thing in the morning, early, because I have students and partners all over the world. I can be, tomorrow morning, I'll be up at 4 a.m. because at 5 a.m. I do a 3-hour training for 200 and some friends in the Philippines. So I book in early because I know once I make a commitment, I will get up and I'll get out of bed. Now, on the other side, because if there's no meeting, I'll sleep in. But this is also where I've learned to take care of me. Wealth rule number one, if you're talking money, wealth rule number one, pay yourself first. But in time, why isn't that rule the same? Why isn't wealth rule number one for your time to pay yourself first as well? See, I've gone through, when I started training for first 4.5 years, I was at home on average 2 days a month. I was overliving my passion. I got burnt out. I herniated a disc because I wasn't taking care of myself, went through 2 back surgeries. I took 3.5 years off because I overdid it. Now, thank goodness money wasn't an issue because I created financial freedom. So, laying in bed before my first surgery, over 6 weeks in bed where I couldn't get out of bed and move. You want to talk a humbling experience? When someone has to come and wipe your ass because you can't even do that, that gets humbling, right? But thank goodness, the one concern that never crossed my mind was, how are we going to pay the bills? Because I had taken care of that, right? And this is where a lot of my experience comes from, is life lessons. I just haven't had a glorious life. Like everybody, I have good days, bad days, all of that. And so when I get busy, this whole week, I just got back from a week of camping on Tuesday because my wife and I love our time off, and we schedule it in first. First, listen to that, audience. Just look at your calendar. I live by my calendar now. First thing I put on there, balance pieces. So that's time for myself, time for my wife, time for family, time for taking care of us, because you can't give what you don't have, plain and simple. And so when I look at it that way, and it allows me now that when we got home and I've been go, because my new office finally built, I can move in. I had a 6 a.m. training, then I had interviews, and I've been go. So last night I looked at my calendar for the morning, and I noticed that I had 1 interview today plus a summit I was doing, and they weren't till the afternoon. I had 2 meetings in the morning that are ongoing meetings, and I just messaged the people saying, look, I'm going to push these meetings because today I allowed myself to sleep in. And I allowed myself to rejuvenate so that I wouldn't be on this interview with you going, hey, Dom, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm feeling awesome. Can't you tell? Yeah. I hope I can add some value to your audience. Right? So I am so aware of myself and what works and what doesn't work. That allows me, so I don't sit there and go, oh, you're a procrastinator, bad. It's like I make fun with it now. I'm a snooze button ninja. I got this dialed in. So I have fun with
it. Solid gold right there, solid gold flow. And you said 3 words that really stuck out to me. I never even heard before, that you were overliving your passion.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like that's so darn powerful, because there's also the dark side of that too. Like, it's like, yeah, live out your passion, but if you're over living it and you're not taking care of yourself, and you get a herniated disc or sciatica where you can't move, and you get a humbling situation where you can't even wipe your own bottom, it's like, oh yeah, gotta take care of my
Yep.
body still.
It absolutely. And when I was asked to come out of retirement, because I went from over living my passion, which was bad, to not living it at all for 3.5 years, which is just as bad. Some of the old negative non-supportive habits started coming in, and my life started kind of going in a little bit of a downhill turn. And of course, the universe always sends you messages. Universe, God, whatever higher power you want to go by. And have you ever noticed that, Dom, that you get sent a lesson, and if you don't listen, it gives it to you again, but much harder? Have you ever noticed it, or is that just me?
No, it's not just you.
Yeah, right. See, when I originally got burnt out, I said, I'm going to take 1 year off. I put out to the universe, I'm going to take 1 year off. So all of a sudden 1 year had gone by. And because of now realizing for 2 years it wasn't a sciatic problem, I had actually hit a herniated a disc. 1 year all of a sudden went to 1.5 years. And all of a sudden I started getting these messages. Robert, you said you're only taking a year off. Your gift is to teach people. You need to start teaching again. And I ignored it because I started getting comfortable, right? And all of a sudden it's 2 years, and I remember the date, August 10th, 2010. I'm 2 years into my break. And all of a sudden I got a lesson I could not ignore. I'm now starting to feel a little bit better. I've gone through my 2 surgeries, and I'm in my rehabilitation. So I'm starting to be better. And my mother-in-law, who lived across the street, not from us, she called me and she said, we're having a problem with our cable on our TV. Would you come up and assist us? So I walk out of my house. There's a playground right across the street. I walk up, help them out. I'm coming back, beautiful warm August day, about 30 kids in the playground. And I'm about to step off the sidewalk and go back to my driveway across the street when this couple comes walking along, and they've got a big bull mastiff dog. And I love animals. And so I stop on the sidewalk. They stop in front of my driveway. I said, is she friendly? And they said, actually, no, she's not. We just rescued her. We're actually rehabilitating her. And so we stood and talked for a while, and I was getting to know about the animal. And I eventually knelt down. They slowly brought her over to me. I let her sniff my hand. I was able to pet her head and pet her neck. There was no issue at all, Dom, until the moment I went to stand up. And the moment I stood up, going into that dominant position, she lunged for my throat.
Ooh.
And thank goodness, because of the standing motion, standing up, my chin had dropped. So instead of getting my throat, she got my chin. And she latched on tight and started to try to bring me to the ground. I'm instantly in shock, but in my mind, I know if she gets me to the ground, I'm done. So I actually stand up, and she's now hanging off of my jaw. And the guy who was walking her actually had to pry her jaws off. And now it's taking both him and his wife holding her back because she's trying to lunge at me. Blood all over the place. And I'm now thinking there's 30 kids in that playground behind me. And I look at him and said, look, I live right there. Just get her out of here. Get her away from these kids. I'll get to my home. And I start walking on my driveway, blood dripping all the way along. I go up the sidewalk. I'm about to go in the door. And also now the thought that enters my mind, if I get blood in the house, my wife's going to kill me. It's insane what goes through your mind when you're in shock, right? I open the door, and I'm like thinking I'm being calm. And I'm like, Roxanne? And I'm so calm. My wife comes running, and she's like, she sees the blood all over. She goes like, what happened? I'm like, a dog attacked me. And so she grabs a towel, gets to my chin to stop the bleeding. And I'm now safe. I'm safe. Fight or flight is over. I'm safe. So I start to pass out. My wife sees me starting to get faint and about to drop, and she knows she's not going to get me to the hospital if I drop. And she goes into what we call her warrior mode. She sees me wobbling, and all of a sudden she looks at me. She goes, don't you faint. Get to that car right now. And I'm like, I'll tell you, Dom, 32 years of marriage, I've learned the 2 most important words in a relationship. Yes, dear. 2 most important words. And so she gets me to the hospital, and there's puncture wounds under my goatee, 3 puncture wounds. And they don't like to close those up because any bacteria they want to be able to flush out. So they cleaned them up. But the dog had ripped through my jaw right here. And so it took 9 stitches to close that up. Ooh. And what's interesting is in that moment, I had a choice. I could have looked at the situation and went, why did that happen to me? Or I could say, why did that happen to me? And also in a lesson I had been teaching my students all over the world previous to my taking time off came to mind. It's a saying that says, that which is not utilized is eliminated. You see, my gift is to teach. 1 inch further, the dog would have got my jugular, and me and my gift would have been gone. And in that moment, I made the decision that I had to train again. I didn't have to train financially. I had to train because it was my gift. And when I made that decision, have you ever noticed that when you like on purpose make a decision and you fully commit to something, how the universe bends over backwards to assist you? Have you ever noticed that, Dom? Yeah.
Oh,
within
yeah.
2 weeks, I was all of a sudden getting a call asking me to come out of retirement. And it was an easy answer. It was like, oh yeah, you don't have to teach me another. I'm coming out of retirement. I'm going to teach again. But because I had realized over living bad, not living bad, I wanted a little more balance. And so what I said to him, because I had been doing 40 to 50 trainings a year around North America and overseas prior to, I said, I like my time off. So if I'm going to train, and it took still a year and a half for me to fully rehabilitate to get out of retirement. But I said, when I start training, I will do 20 trainings a year around the world, no matter where you use me. That way, even with all the flying, I still get 6 months a year off for my time and family time. And for the last 8 years before COVID, BC, I was averaging on average 200,000 miles a year flying, but I was still 6 months a year at home. And I was still doing 19, 20, or 21 trainings a year. And so for your audience, I want them to understand something. People think they have to have balance, and balance has to be perfect. Everything's perfect. But that's not my experience. Things are always changing. To me, what balance is your willingness and your ability to adjust. So that if something's going a little out of your boundaries, you adjust and bring it back in. You don't get frustrated. You don't get upset. You don't go, she is not perfect. You just say, okay, I'll make an adjustment, and you bring it back to center. That to me is balance.
Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm telling you, my man's been dropping gems like crazy, y'all. Y'all better make a tennis brace out of the gems my man Robert's dropping, baby. I'm telling you. That's right. My man been dropping them gems, baby. That's right. And these ain't even clues. It's just straight in your face, too. That's the thing about it. So you better be taking it, because this is good stuff indeed. So if you got a gift out there, you've been slacking, like time to get back on that wonderful saddle again. You can do it. That's right. Or a big dog might find you and be like, hey, here's the dog, friendly. No, it's not. Yeah, what the heck? I'll pet and see what happens. don't let that happen.
Hey, there's moments where you say you can't fix stupid. And I look back and I go, that was stupid. But I got the lesson out of it, right?
Oh.
And the best part, Dom, is now been a great story all over the world. Because there is a lesson to it, which is the key for sure.
You can say that again. Heck, that's probably another wonderful gem right there you just dropped. Don't escape the day without getting a lesson out of it, right?
Yeah. And look, well, let me ask you this question, because that's exactly it. Have you ever heard the saying, Dom, everything happens for a reason? Have you heard that saying?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
do you believe that saying?
Yes, sir.
Did you know it's not the complete saying?
Huh. Well, I'll be dang. All right. This is going to be enlightening right here.
The complete saying is everything happens for a reason, and that reason is there to serve me. And see, the moment you look at the whole statement, good, bad, or ugly, or otherwise, when you look at that and you say the whole statement, it puts you into curiosity mode, so that now you can ask, like I said, I could have gone, why did this happen to me? Or I could say, why did this happen to me? See, I went for the lesson, and not always will you get the lesson right away. Have you ever had a time where something happened in your life, and all of a sudden a couple of years later, you're going, now that's why that happened. Now I get it. And I can tell you got it because of your reaction. And that's exactly it. So I always find it interesting that people know that everything happens for reasons part, but they never hear the second part of it. And that curiosity is what really becomes key. Because if you are looking for lessons in everything that's happening in your life, and I'm not saying you have to get like anal about it and like, okay, I just did this. Why did I do that? What's my lesson? Oh my goodness. That'll just drive you crazy. But if things that are going on in your life, maybe all of a sudden you're like, hey, how is it I attracted that client that saw my value and didn't even want to negotiate a cheaper price? And you look for the lesson. Was it my confidence? Was it the words I said a little clearer? I like that result. How can I duplicate it? See, and you take the lesson from it. That's the things I'm talking about right there.
Man, oh man. That's right, y'all. That's right indeed. I love that one right there. That's what I'm talking about. That's right indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's like serving leadership in reverse, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. You serve the world, and the world will serve you back. That's right. It may not be good at first, depending on the way it serves you back, but it'll be for your good in the end.
That is so true. Very true words.
It'll be like, oh shoot, I just got served. It's like 2005, a movie about dancing. Oh shoot, I just got served. No. Oh, I just got served. Oh, good. All right, serve my good. Well, speaking of 2005, we're getting down to the 2 and the 5 questions. So if you're to wake up tomorrow, you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021, with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
See, and that's a question I love because I've pondered that one a lot. And here's what I've come up with, Dom. I would tell myself, just keep being you. Because everything I've gone through, good, bad, or otherwise, has made me who I am today. And so I wouldn't want to change that. Think of like Ashton Kutcher and the butterfly effect. One little change in the past, what it did to the future. And I am who I am today because of what I've gone through. And if I was to try and change it, whose life would I not impact because maybe I skipped seeing them or they didn't get to hear from me because I was in a different trajectory. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, D, baby. That's right. Keep being you. That's right. Just stick to being you, y'all. That's right. That's right. Throw some Gorilla and super glue on the floor. Throw your feet on there while you're wearing shoes, that is. And there you go. Stick to being you.
Yeah, the shoes part is pretty important. That stuff's hard to get off bare skin, I got to tell you. And how do I know that? I've never tried it. Nope. Dom, you and I have to learn to have more fun. We've just been way too serious this, interview.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Yeah, I blame the Penguins for that one.
There you go. Perfect.
Yes, indeed, especially when there's trees involved with the Penguins. You're probably, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, but I'm intrigued. I'm just gonna say I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's all good. Streams of consciousness just come out. There's income streams and then streams of consciousness. Yeah. What else? The streams of consciousness lead to income streams, maybe.
Without a doubt. Well, look, hey, if you want to get serious on that, think about it. When you are having fun and you're more present, that's when you're opened up to have the brilliance come through. And that is where streams of income come from, right? That's the streams of consciousness that some of my greatest ideas, I go for a walk. That's what helps my back. And when I'm walking, all of a sudden my mind quiets and it's like I've got that lightning rod. I'm connected to God. I'm just downloading. And that's where one of my clues out of my book, write it down. Because I'm not going to rely on my mind. Something can download to me. And if I don't write it down within 10 seconds, I'll be like, damn it. What was it? It was brilliant. I don't remember anymore. Those damn penguins in the trees.
Yep. I got a feeling you might use that in the training now. Just make sure your students are still paying attention. Be like, yeah. So when I was learning from a mentor, he told me to pay attention to the penguins in the trees when you're telling a story. And they're like, what? What's he talking about? Penguins in the trees. Les Brown wasn't known for penguins and trees. I don't believe in eating penguins and I don't believe in eating trees. So what's going on? Oh man. But for those who want to metaphorically eat some more of the great content you have and keep up with all that you're doing, Robert, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Well, I'll tell you, Dom, because you were so gracious to have me on your podcast, what I'd love to do, because I'm writing my second book right now, which is called The Authority Key. And my first book, Success Left a Clue, which is an international best-selling book, I would love to allow your audience as our gift to them for taking their precious time to listen. Because look, to me, our time is one of our most precious commodities. And the fact that you've taken the time to have me as a guest, but more importantly, that your audience who's listening to this right now has taken the time to listen, I cannot tell you how much that means to me. And so as a gift, if they go to robertriopel.com, just my name, robertriopel.com, they're actually going to be able to download the full digital version of Success Left a Clue as our gift to them. And I'll let you know, though, it comes with a caveat. See, this book, I didn't write it for people to read and then put on the shelf and make it shelf help. That's not why I wrote the book. Oh, good, you got that joke. Not many people do. I wrote the book because it changes lives. And the 6 steps I go through it, step number 3 is take action. So I wrote it as an instructional manual, and I actually have action steps in it. And when someone comes up to a chapter after an action step, it'll say something like, did you do the last action? If not, stop reading right now, go back, do the action before you continue reading, because we are creatures of habit. So it comes with that caveat that I would love for them to download the full digital copy as our gift to them, but please use it. If you follow the 6 steps and you do the action steps, I guarantee your listeners, Dom, it'll change your life.
Boom. That's right, baby. That's right, indeed. Mic drop explosions everywhere, baby. Y'all better subscribe. Go to that man's site, man. Tell you, robertriopel.com to be in the show notes. Grab the ebook for free, y'all. That's right. You might even feel like a freaking magician after reading the book, because you'll be amazed at your own freaking growth, y'all. Because Success Left a Clue, and he's got 6 life-changing habits and steps, man. I'm telling you, you'll have 6-pack abs, metaphorically speaking, after reading this book if you take the action from that book, y'all. I'm telling you, Robert's got you covered like a blanket, y'all. And be on the lookout for book number 2 as well, especially when it's after curfew, metaphorically speaking, and buy a bunch of copies and share with your friends. And maybe even share with the camel, especially on hump days, so that way the camel will have the authority key, It already has the Wednesday authority, so, you could have some more authority for the rest of the week. So any parting words before we close up shop, Robert?
Yeah, Dom, what I love to tell people and ask them is share with them that the greatest gift I believe that they can give the world is to show up in their authenticity, be them. It's the greatest gift they can give the world. Don't be afraid to be you, whatever that looks like. Because when you're you, one of 2 things is going to happen. People are either going to like you for who you are or they're not. And if they like you for who you are, that's awesome. If they don't like you for who you are, that's awesome. Because how much time do we waste on trying to be someone else to please people? When if we just be ourselves, the people that'll be attracted to who we are because they like who we are, those are the greatest gifts that can come into our life. Instead of the people that say, well, I'll be your friend, but you really need to change this. You need to do a little different. I don't have time for those people anymore. I can only be me. That's it. And I'm blown away every day by the people who then get attracted to me and want to get to know me for being me, no one else. So that's what I tell your audience. Be yourself.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best.